So really what you want is you want a firm, protective EVA midsole plus flat lugs, and that's what the Predict has. So, you know, you've got a midsole that's laminated. So with all of Salomon's shoes, the EVA foam in the midsole is protective, meaning that it has a soft foam midsole in the shoe, but the EVA foam is laminated so that the air can't get out. And what you end up having is kind of like a balloon. It's a piece of foam, but it's kind of like a balloon or like a raft, like a blow-up raft, where the air can't get out, and you're like walking on that. And so because it's nice and firm and protective, it protects your feet from the trail so that you don't feel all the rocks and roots on the trail as you're walking. And you end up much less distracted by the trail and much less distracted by your feet, and you feel much more energized and ready to do other things, especially at the end of the day, if you're wearing Salomon, because it has a nice protective midsole. As far as the outsole will come off just like on any other shoe, especially if it looks like soccer cleats. But the Predict has flat lugs. So what you're talking about with the Predict is you've got a sturdy upper, you've got a tough EVA outsole that's not going to rub off because the lugs are flat, and you've got a tough protective midsole because the midsole EVA foam is laminated and it doesn't lose its air, so it doesn't lose its loft. The one added feature that you get with the Predict that you don't get with other shoes is that each flat lug on the bottom of the shoe is attached to a piece of EVA foam that's cut out like with a cookie cutter, like a marshmallow. So it's a bunch of separate pieces of EVA foam that are all laminated with a rubber cap on the bottom of each. And what that does is it gives a ton of flexibility to the bottom of the shoe, so that the EVA foam, it moves around like you're walking on marshmallows, basically. So it's a bunch of separate pieces of EVA foam. Each piece of EVA foam is laminated so that it doesn't lose its loft, so that it's tough and protective. And then it's also got a tough, protective, flat outsole rubber laminated to the bottom of each marshmallow. So you've got kind of this funny, flexible technology that's nice and protective, but also it has kind of its own grippage to it, because since those marshmallows of EVA foam move around independently, they can kind of move around like the arms of an octopus or a starfish and kind of grip the rocks and give you some added grippage while you're walking around. So soccer cleats work good in mud, and flat lugs kind of work good on rocks. And so, you know, I guess with the flat lugs, you're kind of talking about getting some extra grippage in most terrain that isn't extremely muddy, you know, because there's space in between those flat lugs. And the space in between those flat lugs allows mud and dirt and sand and what have you to go up into the shoe to give you some traction. And, you know, since you do have that, the flat lugs perform in a similar way to the soccer cleats. The big advantage of the flat lugs is that they don't rub off the shoe as quickly. Now, that's a double-edged sword, because in order to fulfill your warranty with Salomon, you have to show that you did wear off the bottom of the shoes before they'll let you buy another pair. With the Predict, that's going to be harder, because it's going to take you longer to rub the bottoms of the shoes off, because the bottom of the shoe doesn't rub off as easy because it's flat. I've got a pair of shoes from Hoka, which are called the Kona Claytons. And these are an Ironman shoe that's made with an Armat outsole and midsole. So the whole entire bottom of the shoe is one material. It's all called Armat, and there is no Vibram. All right, so on the bottom of a lot of Hokas, they use Vibram soccer cleats, and this is really kind of like a bad idea. Just, you know, in trail running, any kind of outsole that looks like soccer cleats is going to come off. And what you want actually are flat lugs. Hoka doesn't sell a lot of shoes with flat lugs because the entire business model of Hoka is for shoes that need to be replaced. And this is also a problem that I found with Patagonia. I've got a Patagonia micro puff jacket that costs $300, and the whole entire design of the jacket is in order for the jacket to be replaced. These Patagonia jackets have to be replaced every year. They don't maintain their loft. They get colder and colder and colder as you use them. And the Hoka brand, they're making shoes that have to be replaced. The Vibram soccer cleats rub off, and also the maximum amount of EVA foam that they use goes flat. So in every shoe, you've got a midsole that's made out of soft EVA foam. But the reason that sensation is so soft, when you step on that EVA foam, it feels soft because that's the sensation of the air getting squished out of your EVA foam. So, as the air gets squished out of your EVA foam, the EVA foam loses its loft, but EVA foam does not regain its loft at the same rate as down or a jacket. So, when you stuff a jacket or a sleeping bag into your pack, it loses its loft. When you pull it out of your pack after maybe 20 minutes, it regains its loft and it's warm again. Okay, but EVA foam is not like that. It doesn't poof back up with air. And so you've got 1 month or maybe 2 months of use out of this EVA foam. It goes flat. And that's a huge problem with Ultra and Hoka. So Hoka and Ultra, they both use a soft EVA foam, which loses its loft as you use it. Now, you can always shelve those shoes. You can take those shoes and put them on the shelf and just not use them for a week or two. And slowly over time, that EVA foam can regain its loft and the shoe will feel new again. But if you're going on a long hike that's going to take you a month or two or more, you're walking every single day, and you can't use a shoe like that with a soft EVA foam that's going to lose its loft, because after 1 month, it goes completely flat, and it starts to feel really sluggish, like a flat kind of like a muddy, kind of sluggish, squishy kind of flat flip-flop or something. It feels like a flip-flop sandal, especially Ultra. Ultra has a flat zero drops midsole, and once that EVA foam goes flat and loses its loft, it really starts to feel like a thin flip-flop sandal that just serves no purpose. It just doesn't work. So when you're hiking, you want your shoe to give you ample protection from the ground. A soft EVA foam, especially a minimalist soft EVA foam, is going to go completely flat, and then your feet are going to feel all the rocks and roots underneath your feet as you're hiking all the time. And that's just not going to work. It just doesn't work. That combined with soccer cleats that come off the bottom of the shoe, that just makes no sense. One reason why I'm sticking with Salomon partially is because of their warranty program. They're allowing me to buy a brand new pair of Salomons literally for free, more or less, after simply emailing them a couple of photographs of some hiking shoes that I have from Salomon that are almost 3 years old. So I've got a 2.5-year-old pair of XA Pro 3Ds, which I loved. I took a couple photographs of the bottom of the shoes, of the outsole that's rubbed off, and Salomon sent me a coupon for $130 without even sending in the shoes. So I can still wear those XA Pro 3Ds. I still have them, and I was able to buy a brand new pair of shoes. So I ended up I tried out the Odyssey Triple Crown Magic shoes, which I found out are a total joke. Now, Salomon, I ended up getting the Predicts. What I ended up doing was I got the Odysseys, looked at them, sent them back, and asked for the Predicts. Now, basically Salomon lists their best shoes on their website first on top, and as you scroll down the website, they kind of show you a bunch of other choices of shoes you can buy, and it's possible to save about $20 by, you know, getting like a shoe from the XA system. They've got tons of different shoes with soccer cleats on the bottom. They've got the Sense, and they got the XA Pro system, and then they've got some hiking shoes. And, you know, all the way down at the bottom are the Odysseys, which suck, which I sent back. But all the way at the top are the Predicts. So the big difference between the Predicts and the other shoes that Salomon sell are the lugs, and the lugs are flat. Now, I've already got a pair of Hokas that have got flat lugs called the Claytons. And I'm finding out that flat lugs are the way to go.